First off tonight, 24-Hour News 8 is digging deeper into 30-year-old Matthew Bolick's death after he was tased by police. It happened at his parents' East Grand Rapids home after a violent confrontation with officers. Police rushing into the house on Heather Street last night after Bolick's father called for help, saying that Matt Bolick confronted the officers, hitting one in the face. They tasered him. When that had no effect, Bolick ran into the home. Officers gave chase. A struggle ensued, and several more taser shots were delivered. Bolick was finally subdued. But before an ambulance could arrive, he was unresponsive and died at the scene.
Well, until we get the medical examiner's report, we're not going to speculate one way or the other. Very comfortable with, I believe, that, the officers were objectively reasonable in what they did, but we still need to conduct a proper investigation.
Suzanne Jihas taking a look at what's being said tonight on Bolick's own Facebook page. Susie?
Brian, a lot of his friends and family members are writing on his wall. One says, "You were always a real cool cat." Another said, "Matthew Bolick, you are one of the most loyal friends I will ever have. Thank you for sharing your light with me." Another, "We love you. We miss you always and forever." Another says, "R.I.P. Matt. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family." The incident of the tasering was the first time East Grand Rapids police had used their guns. We don't know exactly what killed Bolick or what role, if any, those taser guns played. However, the federal government and other studies have studied the deaths in the wake of the use of tasers. Tonight, 24-Hour News 8's Tony Tagliavia is looking closely at the weapon, how it works, and when officers are told to use it.
We asked the Wayland police officer in charge of training other Wayland officers how and when to use tasers.
You pull the trigger, it sends electrical currents right through there, okay, for 5 seconds.
Under normal use, two probes shoot from this black cartridge. Officer James Anderson says optimum distance is 7 to 15 feet away. The taser can also be applied directly to a person's body.
I've used it personally about a half dozen times in 5 years with no adverse effects on the people. It's actually done its purpose.
All Wayland police officers carry tasers. Anderson is in charge of making sure they're trained properly before the officers get them. So when does he recommend using tasers?
If just grabbing a person isn't resolving the situation, before you go into the self-defense techniques of strikes and blows, is where we're teaching our officers to use this. It really cuts down on physical injuries.
Anderson and the other Wayland officers have also felt what it's like to be hit themselves.
If it's worked right, it's very incapacitating. When I got hit, for 5 seconds I couldn't move. Once it's done, once the electricity was done, I was able to get right up. I could attack if I needed to. I could run if I needed to.
And where should officers aim? An October Associated Press report says manufacturer Taser International is now recommending against shooting the stun guns at someone's chest, citing an extremely low risk of an adverse cardiac event. Anderson says he's received the same advice.
Just down below the chest.
He says it makes sense to him because it reduces the chances of hitting someone in the face or another sensitive area. The American Medical Association has studied the use of tasers by law enforcement. It concluded that when used appropriately, they can save lives during incidents that would have otherwise used deadly force.
I still truly believe in the product itself, because I've seen it work.
This officer says despite some fatal incidents, the product is relatively safe. In Wayland, Tony Tagliavia, 24-Hour News 8.
That American Medical Association study that Tony Tagliavia just referenced noted that there seems to be a link between risk for death and heart disease or drugs when mixed with a struggle against law enforcement. But the AMA says that link seems to exist with or without the use of a taser gun.